Doing our life. Okay, so welcome to the first meeting of the CYP for this year, this council year. I'm Emily. I'm Councillor Lonsdale, and I'm from the Global Board. Shall we all go around and introduce ourselves so that everyone knows who everyone is talking to, and so that we can call each other by our correct names and things like that.
Yep, I'm Councillor Amin, and I'm the Councillor of Blakely's Ward.
I'm Councillor Cecile Wright, and I'm the Councillor for Arboretum Ward.
I'm Cathy Kozlowski, Councillor for Chaddiston West.
I'm Stephen Falk. I'm the Councillor for Ulverston South.
Miles Patterson, Councillor in Middleover.
I'm Slan Lim, I'm the Director of Early Help and Children's Social Care.
I'm Freya Tweller, I'm Councillor for Oakwood Ward.
I'm Tracy Churchill, Representative of Catholic Education.
I'm Mohammed Say, Derby Youth Mayor.
I'm Harmon Core, I'm Deputy Youth Mayor.
And a special welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining us. So we have quite a light agenda today. So do we have any apologies?
Yeah, Pauline Anderson, she's the Director of Learning and Skills.
Okay. And otherwise, I think everyone else is here. It's wonderful. Long may it continue. Councillor Patterson, we believe you're the only person who was present at the last meeting. So are the minutes a true and accurate representation of the
Yes,
discussed at that last meeting?
Yeah, the fine. I've had a look.
So is everyone comfortable with passing those minutes?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Just got to get back into my computer. The next item is topic reviews. I do not believe I have any late items. Okay, and then declarations. Does anybody have any interest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just let them make you aware that I provide homes to school transport. So any future talk about discuss. So you're aware of that anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Anyone else? Excellent. So,
Yeah, can I ask, in relation to the minutes, there are a range of actions and proposals. So what happens in relation?
And also there's a topic review that was referred from the last meeting. So again, as a board, you'll need to decide whether you want to pick that topic review up or not. Do something completely different. It's down to you as to decide.
My personal feeling on the education care plan to go to cabinet is a good idea. Does anybody have any comments on that or anything that they'd like to add to that for to go to council? Is everybody happy to send that to the cabinet for further discussion and to come back to the school is part of the thing as well after it has finished being discussed in cabinet? Yeah. For a further report? Yeah. So are we all agreed? Excellent. Yes.
Okay. Right. I also feel, I'm assuming that these the monitoring of safeguarding practices will be ongoing. So we won't stop doing them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Safeguarding was on our, was it not?
Oh, it's on the list of yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. If that's the case, then if I can just go to page 4, 5 in particular, where it's the second paragraph down on the focus on 2022, 2023. So detailed activities here and the independent inquiry in relation to child sexual abuse, etc., and exploitation. I'm assuming that those areas are going to be also part of the remit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Answer that question. So there will be an annual report of sexual exploitation and child-related exploitation that will come to this board. So that will cover the progress made and all of the actions and any progress towards that back to this board. Thank you.
It looks like that's on the agenda for the 16th, 10th on the work programme.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's, yeah, and rightly so, it's a highly important topic.
Absolutely,
safeguarding
yes.
Children.
Yes.
Such an important thing. Okay. Any other comments on the minutes? Anything else? So we want to talk about our work programme. That's the other thing that goes, our topic review, even not our work. So.
If you'd like to take that topic review item when you come to this, which topic review you're doing at the end of the work programme.
Okay.
That's.
Shall we go through the work programme, things that we want to add to it, things that you think that this board feels, because this is a suggested list that has been come up through discussions since I became chair, and Councillor Trella, sorry. Councillor Trella and I have discussed with Lindsay and things. So this is what we've come up with, but we are open to suggestions and refining the list as well. So it's quite a busy work programme already, but that doesn't mean it can't get busier. It's a really important, this is really important. So,
What I wanted to add to it, or are you going to go through each item? I'd like to add, as I said prior to the meeting, perhaps I shouldn't have had the discussion. The fact that education defines children and young people's this demographic up to 18 years, I feel that it is important, and obviously their experience of schooling and their educational outcome. I really do feel that we ought to include in here something on educational performance. I am aware that some years back, perhaps 2 or 3 years back, that the city through the Ofsted did highlight that there were areas under educational underperformance. So I'd like perhaps educational attainment, I suppose no more than information about how we are doing, how our schools are doing in relation to other schools.
Okay. So other regions.
Other school, other parts of the country.
So with the assumption being other parts of the country, similar demographics, or just any other parts of the country. Yeah.
Well, I suppose, other cities, yes. Yeah, it's fine.
That sounds like a reasonable thing to me. I would be happy to add that to the work programme if everyone is happy with that. I think that sounds like a very sensible thing to do.
Sorry, are we saying we just want something that's very specific, or just comparing us to other areas around the country, or if we're talking about general performance, then to me, rather than getting into that specific detail, I don't really see much gain, much benefit in terms of sitting and comparing how we do to other cities, rather than just focusing on ourselves as a city and getting a general overview of the performance of our schools. So if that's
would it be more beneficial to have the report on how and what we're doing and what we're seeing from other places? You've got to.
Chair, for me, we have listed school attendance and school refusal issues, and whether or not attainment could be added to that, so that full report of that.
Okay. I mean, Chair, unfortunately, in this country, it is most unfortunate because it can be divisive. We have the league tables of children of school performers within the city and as a comparator to other areas. So I don't think there's a mismatch. between us finding out what is happening here within the city of Derby is provide an education service and more widely.
Looking at cities that have improved is also a good idea, and seeing what they have adopted to improve their attainment. My other concern about, and this might be just a personal concern about the attainment and grids and things like that. They only measure how people are doing academic statistics, as opposed to young people and children who are vocational learners and the artists, the carers of our society that are coming up in the schools are often missed out of these attainment goals. So I would very much encourage any reports to be looking broader than just what statistics are telling us. That's not bugbear.
That would be added value.
Does that sound something sensible, reasonable, attainable? Forgotten your name. Suhan.
Yes, I think within the theme where we're looking at education, and also include attainment as well.
Brilliant. Great.
Sorry, perhaps I should have declared. I should have declared an interest.
That's all right.
I do education as my job. So, what's missing from here is transition.
Are we talking primary to secondary,
Whatever. Yeah.
The whole,
because things can start to deteriorate, particularly. Yeah. So perhaps we ought to include transition if we can, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. So that's been for quite a long meeting. But that's fine.
Shut up for the rest.
No, please do not. Excellent. So we have, focus this more. I feel that makes that less broad.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. It may be a question for Suhan, but the items on this list, all or nearly all, rightly come under safeguarding, really, getting to school safely, eating well, etc. So I just wanted to ask the item in September, monitoring safeguarding practice, what that would tell us really, and whether or not it might be a more regular report than annually.
Also, it's specifically around some of the statutory duties around our child protection and our multi-agency safeguarding front door surveillance. So that's very specific, and that has been I suppose a report that's been brought regularly over the last couple of years to this board. So if you had a sort of copy of that, you'd be able to see exactly what it is, because it's very specific around how we safeguarding practices, and also staffing issues within social care services.
Yeah, just the data then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Just on that point around safeguarding, I see that's down for meeting on Monday the 4th of the 9th. Would it potentially, I guess it's at Suhan's discretion as well, but if that seems to fit into the theme of the following meeting around safeguarding, and would it potentially make sense to move that monitoring safeguarding into that second theme meeting on the 16th of the 10th? I know that then throughout looking at the list, it then throws 3 items for yourself to do in that meeting. It just seemed, looking at the themes, that might.
It's at the discretion of the chair, and can put them all together, but I think.
Or maybe it's beneficial to have 2 meetings where safeguarding is discussed.
Okay, yeah, it's just
so that we have got a broader view of, because it was just suggested that we have it every meeting. So I don't want to put too much work on Suhan as well and her team, which they're already incredibly busy. I know. I'm not.
No, it was just, I was just aligning it to the themes of what the meetings are but that's.
Cool. Anything else is there anything you see missing from this work programme?
Maybe for the 7th and 6th of 2023, when it talks about children's mental health issues after COVID. What age range would that cover? Would that cover primary school ages, secondary?
So, I can't find it.
4th of September 2023.
4th of September, next meeting. I think we were talking broadly in our meeting about the whole range of. I mean, I have concerns about all the age group of young people, everyone from 0 all the way up to 18. So it's aware of their mental health, seeing that crisis unfolded before our eyes. Yes.
Sorry, Chair, if I may, when we've looked at this as a committee before, when it's come down to children's mental health, it has literally covered that and looked at the provision that's available within the city and how children can access the provision that's available, whether that's through communication in schools, whether that's accessing external agencies, and looking at that entire provision that would kind of encapsulate that term of children.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As we have discussed in one of our previous meetings, around kind of children's mental health, on the teachers' view of it and how much knowledge they have on it. Something we were discussing, I don't know how possible it would be, but there are many charities and organisations that have a lot of knowledge about children's mental health, potentially more than the schools would train the teachers. So would it be a thing where we could look into maybe creating a bit of a list that we could advise some schools for extra training? Maybe if we had like a list that was like of some of the charities and things, we could say, oh, you know, from this list, if you wanted to do some extra training into mental health for the children, then the teachers could guide it. It's very much, from what I've kind of seen, is the kind of the children accessing the help, not necessarily being guided towards the help as such from the teachers. I don't know how much we've looked into that at all.
It certainly hasn't been a focus on teachers in the past. It's more been around what provision there is available in the city and how accessible that is for either schools to be signposted towards. But when it does come to mental health, it is more that communication between parents and the children, and then accessing services rather than that coming through teachers.
I see that. I think from recently at school, but from being one of the most recent in school, a lot of mental health problems in classrooms, and a lot of it happens within those walls. So maybe if we had something where the teachers could had a better knowledge of where to send them or when to kind of draw a line at things, there's just something that we could look into maybe.
Yeah. Lovely.
On that, I would say that school champions were discussed, so maybe that could be better than really discussing it with a teacher.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah,
great. Is this a hand over here? Councillor?
No.
Okay. You're a bit behind the screen. So you have to.
That's fine. It's okay.
Okay, cool. So I'm feeling comfortable with where we're at the moment. Obviously, please email me if you think of anything more to go on to the workshop. It's like, because it is an ongoing discussion and other things will get added and some things might end up being moved. This is not a hard and fast list. So topic review. Every year we get to do one topic review, which we have the opportunity to meet with various organisations, groups within the council, officers and people to focus in and it's sort of a deep study into a particular topic. So we have the suggested topic from last year, which is a small focused review on specific groups of SEND children to analyse the reasons for placement breakdown for children with an EHCP. So I'm thinking that's about the children who end up being homeschooled without any sort of placement in a school because there are not sufficient placements for this that can accommodate their special needs. And sadly, that does happen quite regularly. And then so that's the option that the previous board has left us with, or we can change that and go to one of the other two view that we've suggested, or suggest a different one. So the one I've suggested is examine a way of managing schools. The way of managing school is conducive to children's mental health and well-being. There is a pressure on schools and pupils, for example, pressure on exams. How do we as a council support schools? So that is a deep dive into how are our structures working? Is there too much of a focus on the exam and getting those attainments done higher at the expense of the well-being of the children? And would it be better to follow a less pressurized route, which would result in similar results from less pressurized route, which we could suggest to the schools, or which, and I think the next thing that's written is the impact of stress on children, which, you know, and young people, which is a huge topic.
Yes, I think you're right to consider infrastructural support that can be given to schools, children who are going through, we've all been through,
yeah,
rite of passage, taking exams. So it's what infrastructural support we can bring to aid and assist. I suppose it's a reasonable question.
Thoughts from elsewhere? You look terrified. Sorry, me.
Right. No, I suppose everything comes down to funding, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Having worked in education for far too long, I think it is fair to say, and for all to recognise, that historically, where there were any issues that you would be seeing within a young person, you always had somewhere to signpost them to. And now there isn't, and it is unfortunately expected to either be picked up in the classroom, or teachers are supposed to know everything, whereas they've got exams to pass and So you have got that pressure, the stress that is then put kind of top down, doesn't it? And then it comes down, and inevitably, unfortunately, that falls at the feet of the young people that we are there to serve. Yeah. And so it is a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it, really? But yes.
And we mustn't forget parents in this.
Yes.
Parents also have expectations, don't they?
Oh, yes.
So there's a relationship, partnership element in this.
Yes, there are some interesting expectations at school day. I can tell you, as a parent of small children, that is, it's difficult to manage, because I'm very much a relaxed, they'll come out right in the end parent, but there are other parents who are much different to that.
Yeah, and just to say, Chair, it doesn't stop at the compulsory stages. I work in a university, and we do see the pressure, and the pressure is really instances that every year we have students, young people taking their lives, committing suicide because of. So it is real at every stage of the education process, which is
kind of why I want to look at it, is to see if there is something that we can do as authority to help more, because teachers can't be everything to these students. I mean, I know we have very little concerns, very small and very talented, and that's not actually all that helpful, because if you don't meet those criteria, you don't get to go to that youth club and get that opportunity to have that positive adult role model outside. Where my disclosure comes in, I'm 20 years of youth work experience. I am a youth worker, professional youth worker, JNC qualified professional youth worker. So it is really important that we have a holistic approach to the education of our young people, both informally and formally, because everything is education all the time. But again, funding. So are there any other topics that would interest anybody? I mean, those are the three that have kind of been discussed in our pre-meet and all that sorts of thing. But is there anything else that people are particularly interested in, extra to that, or as well as that, or shall we pick from those three topics for a topic review? Pick. You think pick?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, is it a case of raising hands for see which people are most interested in, and we'll just decide whoever has raised hands? So, the small focused review on specific SEND groups. No. Okay, the examining ways of managing schools, how schools conduct themselves with children's mental health and well-being. Yeah. Okay, so that's unanimous. Well, that's easy. I always think with these topic reviews, it's very complex. But it's really important to have a topic review that people are interested in. Otherwise, it won't work. And although the focus on SEND is so important, and we should be keeping that going throughout our board, it is also, if we're not bought in, it's not, the topic review won't be successful in itself. And we want a really successful, helpful thing at the end of the day, don't we? So, okay, well, is that everything on the agenda? That is everything on the agenda. Any other business? No. Well, there you go. I said an hour, and it was only half an hour. So I apologise for the shortness of the meeting. The next meeting, I guarantee you, will be longer because we have a lot to cover. But thank you all for coming. Really lovely to meet you all. Already. Anything else?